William, thank you for joining me today. Why is it important to have diversity in clinical trials?
Well, Dr. Dawson, we know that people respond to medicines and vaccines differently.
Yes.
And factors like race, ethnicity, age, and gender can contribute to these differences. Without representation in clinical research, it's harder for researchers, regulatory bodies, and physicians to get a complete picture of a medicine's or vaccine's safety and efficacy. I also think that people are more likely to take a medicine or a vaccine if they have the reassurance that it works in those with their background.
All very good points. So what are some of the barriers, and why have certain communities been historically underrepresented?
Some of this stems from a lack of trust in the medical community. In addition to trust issues, there are also access issues. It can be difficult to find a trial. There can also be lack of awareness of clinical trials because of language or cultural barriers, which we are trying to address. Often the requirements for participants are burdensome, and there are also practical barriers. For example, trial participation often requires having adequate health insurance, paying for travel expenses, and pulling away from other obligations, such as work or family.
Williams, you made some very important points. What is Pfizer doing to ensure that participants in your trials are diverse?
Pfizer is doing several things to break down barriers and ensure that we can deliver breakthroughs for all. We're being very intentional about ensuring diversity. So we're training our own colleagues, designing our trials with certain diversity metrics, and most importantly, we're holding ourselves accountable. We're also working with trusted voices in the communities, such as grassroots organizations, faith-based organizations, historically Black colleges and universities, and other partners to raise awareness. Third, we're also funding clinical trial diversity initiatives to increase the number of diverse clinical trial investigators and community engagement across the country. We're making it easier for those who live too far to participate in trials remotely to access the health care they can through telehealth.
Very good. I love some of the steps that you all are taking to be more inclusive. So what can those listening do to learn more about clinical trials?
Well, Dr. Dawson, participating in clinical trials is a very personal decision, as you know. I suggest anyone listening to speak to their healthcare professional about their options. For general information about the clinical trial process and what to expect, Pfizer has an educational website you can visit, pfizerclinicaltrials.com. We've also recently launched a similar resource in Spanish for the Latina community called Pfizer Estudios Clínicos. And finally, clinicaltrials.gov is another great resource for a list of all ongoing clinical trials. Now, Dr. Dawson, I also have a question for you. How do organizations like yours support participation in clinical research?
We consider ourselves to be a grassroots organization. We work with the CDC as well as researchers. For us, we believe in education, getting information out there, and also making sure that some of those barriers you mentioned are removed.
Well, thanks to all that you've been doing, and it's been great to talk to you.
And thank you for being here today.